I mean, most guys hang around in some form or fashion, but you left. Did you miss it when you left?
Yeah, that's a good question. Not right away. I mean, the first year I was off, I'd been preparing the prior year knowing that it was probably going to be my last year and had a plan of what I was going to do and go back to school. So much of my focus was on that. But now that that's run its course, it's been 5 years now, I guess. You do miss it, and you realize how special of a time it is, and how quickly it goes.
Didn't you go to Duke for a while or something?
For a while, yeah. I got my MBA at Duke.
Okay, that was
so
there.
For 2 years.
Did you think about coaching?
Did I think about coaching there?
Or coaching, period?
No, I never thought about coaching other than my son's basketball team, which I'm the head third grade coach now.
Oh, wow.
In Connecticut. So.
Usually when you go to Duke, they don't let you go. I mean, they get you on that bench and.
No, I didn't really explore it all. I mean, my mindset going in was I kind of had an idea of something that I was interested in and going back to school to pursue and try, and that's kind of taken me where I am today. So it doesn't mean that I think I've completely left the game behind, because I think at some point, I'd like to get back into it, but it's just right now I'm kind of doing other things.
What are you doing?
So I work for an investment firm. It's headquartered in Westport, Connecticut, and I cover our client relationships in the Western U.S. And our investors are kind of institutional investors, pension funds, endowments, foundations. It's not as exciting as standing in the corner for open threes.
Do your clients often say, "Hey, are you that Pat Garrity?"
Yeah, some are. Some don't follow basketball. They just think that this is a tall guy that's walking to this meeting with me. But some do. Yeah.
Are you able to channel that competitiveness in this field the way you were in basketball? I mean, you're kind of mild-mannered in these settings, but on the court.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. I think the one similarity is that, when you're starting out in a new career at kind of my age after doing something previously, you're going up against people who have done it professionally for a long time. And so, you have to set your ego aside when you have failures. That's probably the one parallel. It's like you're not going to be very good when you start. And everything's kind of, you learn from mistakes and try to improve that way. So that's probably like the one parallel. And some days will be good and some are bad when you're trying something new and trying to transition. And the parallel there is kind of like when you're going through a season, because you have ups and downs. And that's the one rule, like everyone learns when they're a rookie, is you don't get too high and you don't get too low, because it's 82 games is a really long season.
What does it mean to you that the Magic brought you back to honor you for the 25th anniversary season?
I mean, I was speaking with Dante Marcatelli doing the radio show today, and he asked me what my first reaction was, and I said my first reaction was, are you sure you have the right number? No, but in all seriousness, it meant a great deal, because this, when thinking back, basketball is such a big part of my life since I was a kid, up until the time I retired in 2008, and the one place where I was at the longest that was kind of most in my experience as a basketball player was in Orlando. And we kind of ran the whole spectrum of things that you can go through as a team in my 9 years here. So to be called back as one of the guys celebrating an anniversary like this, it just, I mean, I couldn't have imagined when I was traded here that I would be a guy like that at the end of my career that they would choose that for. So it's very honored, very honored.
You played here 9 years, but by the time you got to that end and you retired, did you kind of have Orlando as a second home?
It was my first home. So I lived here in the off seasons, and we would still be here today. But that's the opportunities kind of presented to you in life. You take them, and it kind of caused us to move. But professionally, this is where I've lived the longest of any place I've been. So it's still it holds a special place for us.
Playing pickup?
No pickup.
No.
Just coaching. Running a lot of high pick and roll. That's the only play.
How's your son as far as shooting?
He's good, yeah.
And down to
he's okay, yeah.
Pat,
Hank? What's his name?
when you came here,
Henry.
there was kind of a a lot of tumult in the organization, a lot of turnover in the roster. I think you played, what, a year in Phoenix first?
I played the lockout year in Phoenix,
Yeah.
50-game season, and then was traded with Danny Manning for Penny. And it took, I think, 8 years for Tim Potek to stop referring to me as a throw-in. But no,
He's not here.
Oh, Tim's not
I
here.
love Tim. No, but no, honestly, that's what it was. It was the same strategy that a lot of teams follow now. So guys leaving the roster, either people earlier in their careers or at the end like Danny was, coming on and creating cap space for the next year.
Yeah. Did you think of yourself that way? Did you think like you'd be here a year or two and move on, or?
When you're at that point in your career, you don't think more than the next season ahead. And so at that point, all I knew is that I had a 3-year contract. I was going into year 2, and that I had ended on a pretty good note with Phoenix and playing a lot and playing pretty well in the playoffs. Even though we lost in the first round of Portland that year, and that this was just going to be an opportunity. But what kind of opportunity? Who knows? We had 20 guys that came in, and it was really up for grabs as far as who was going to be here.
Got a lot of fans around here still mention that Hard and Hustle team is their favorite year. What are your memories of that year? How you guys were kind of thrown together, and Doc had you running through walls every night?
Yeah, the thing that I remember about that team is first I think there were low expectations externally for what we could do. And in one of the first practices, I think he opened up to Sports Illustrated and had us kind of threatening the all-time loss record in NBA history. So that was kind of the external expectations, and then contrast that to the bar that he set internally as a team. So, if we lost a certain number of games in a row, it was like unacceptable. Like it wasn't expected that we were going to lose. He didn't expect it, and then the guys who were leaders like Daryl and Bo, didn't either. Like they demanded a lot from each other. And so how that all turned out is I think we were 41-41, missed the playoffs by 1 game. But that was, that's what I remember, is just coming in as a group of guys. That it was kind of a rebuilding season, but I think no one on the team or Doc approached it that way. Or if he did, he didn't show it.
You played a year with Jacques. What's your recollection of him?
My recollection of him was I watch him on the sidelines now, and his demeanor and how professional he is as a coach. Like that's how he was as a player, and he was a backup point guard, and he never got rattled at all. He never showed emotion on his face. He was always very positive, and you could see that he had come from. I think prior to that he was in San Antonio. He'd come from a winning culture, and then prior to that in Kansas, so he had like winning in his blood, and that just showed in his approach, I think, to the game.
You were mentioning you came in during the lockout season. Just talk about going from Notre Dame, we're averaging 23, 24 points a game, to getting drafted by Milwaukee, to getting traded a couple times to Phoenix, and then you have that lockout period. How do you prepare for yourself to be ready for whenever you did start playing?
Well, what I did was I moved down to Phoenix, and I shared an apartment with Toby Bailey, who was the other draft pick for Phoenix, and we played pickup, and there were guys who just got together, but there was really no getting ready. Now in the offseason when you're drafted, you go to the team right away. There's a formal program. Back then you just played and then showed up, and there was no coaching. It was just games. So it was, it was a tough year to come in as a rookie. You didn't have the kind of ramp-up period that you normally do.
And then I guess mention your favorite moment as a player and also your favorite Magic team moment.
Oh, wow. I should have thought about that one. I haven't hit, I hit a few game winners. Like hitting a game winner is always like, a special thing. So, I think there were a couple in my career. Honestly, I think both personally, even though it's not one moment, and with the Magic, it's actually the game that we lost to Milwaukee in that '99 season to miss going to the playoffs. Yeah. Because that was like the only time that I've experienced more than one guy in an NBA locker room like crying after a loss. Mm-hmm. And it was just an unusual team, and you know, you knew that things were going to change after that. But it was just a special group of guys that kind of capped the end of it. And so I do remember that kind of end point quite well.
Do you have any memories of the dunk against the Sixers?
There it is. Yeah, I was like, where did that come from? No, you know, that's, I don't, you know, it's funny, I remember the play, but I couldn't tell you what the situation or when it happened in the game. But it is, you know, thanks to YouTube now, probably the lasting memory of about my time here.
What was your favorite teammate reaction from that dunk, whether during the game or after the game?
I don't know. I mean, looking at it, I didn't know during the game, but like looking at the bench now, it's like pretty funny. Like, pretty surprised.
All right, that's good.
Good.
Thanks, Pat.